Beep beep. What is up, ninjas? My name is Samworld. I am back from Alaska, so that's why I'm all burnt and look like a damn tomato. I'm not trying to, go to FL or anything. But today, guys, we are going to be looking at the sound of Stephan Bodzin, heavily requested by you guys. Now, there are a couple of things I like about his sound, guys. First off, very simple. Second, he makes it interesting by adding automations to the cutoff filter. And third, the effects are used tastefully. And what I mean by this is if you hear a Stephan Bodzin track, you're going to hear the delay and the reverb at certain points in that track that emphasize a certain melodic variation that he has in them. Now, what I'm going to be doing, guys, is simple. We're going to be using Serum for this, as I know all of you guys should have it. And if you don't, come on. All right, so what we're going to do, guys, is just have a little 4-bar melody here. It's not going to be it's up to Stephan Bodzin caliber, but it should be enough to get the technique to create his sound and the effects of it and show it to you guys properly so you can do it yourself or get inspired from it. Now, one thing I've noticed a lot about the Stephan Bodzin progressions, guys, is that they tend to work their way from the 1 back down to the 1. So what I mean by that is it'll go something like... which is one of the more overused deep house progressions. But another thing also is that sometimes in the more popular tracks he has, he starts it on the A sharp here, or the B flat, or the 6th chord in that, or the 6th bass progression, whatever you want to call it. And we can also do a similar effect. You can switch the F to the C, and you can do a lot. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go for that A sharp, and we're going to leave a little space here. One of the Bodzin, you could call it his signature little thing he does a lot is in these little sections here where it switches chords, or sorry, the bass note, they have a little bit of a melodic variation, an arpeggio, like these pitch bends that sound great. This is where he automates the hell out of the cutoff. The effects come in tastefully, like I said, and it makes that transition a lot smoother, as well as makes it sound a little bit more complex, a little bit more tasteful, spicy, okay? So we're going to do something similar here, maybe go up to a higher octave and just do like maybe some weird progression like that. And then here we can go down to that G. And then here, just 2 notes instead of having like a fully arpeggiated sequence. And then here we're going to go down to maybe that C. And then I kind of want to have like a little legato there. Or maybe E. And then just go back to that D. Okay, from there, we pretty much have our little melody, Bodzin, not up to his caliber, but this is just a run through so that I can show you guys how to create the sound and the effects. But keep in mind, those are the things that makes his sound what it is. If I were just to have without those little things, it wouldn't really allow me to really add reverb and delay at certain points to make them stand out. Okay, from here, we're going to have 2 saws. One of them will be pitched up +7, which is going to sound like this, and it's going to sound bad. But in essence, this allows us to put this up an octave, as you're going to see why. So hopefully you understand why we need to have this up an octave. Okay, from there we're going to put a filter. Now this is a very important part because if you want a filter that sounds very warm, you want to go with a higher dB slope that's going to cut out a lot of the highs. Okay, so now we're just going to automate that cutoff at certain points here, and you can do whatever you want, guys. Again, the key thing I hope you guys get out of this is that when you have simplistic stuff, you can make it sound even crazier and give it life by automating certain things in the patch of the preset or the sound you are using. So here we're just going to have maybe like this slowly coming up, and then when it hits the spot, we're going to get it really high and then maybe come back low. Maybe not so high, but just maybe up to here. And then here, just go crazy, maybe a little bit there, and then come back down fast. And then here we can work our way down to this. Here, maybe like a little bit more like so. I'm not liking how that sounds. There we go. Once we have that, we're going to give this a little bit of attack. Lower the sustain a bit so it has a bit more dynamic. This is going to be routed to the volume. And then we're just going to increase the decay there. And then maybe slope here like so, and then bring it up. Now from here, you can choose to add distortion, a bit of 2. You can go crazier with it and experiment with other distortions if you want to create something new from this. But in essence, that's all we're going to do because the rest is going to come from the reverb we put. Now here, I'm just going to use this Ableton stock reverb, but do pay attention to the kind of reverb you're using. Pick it tastefully. Go through some presets in Valhalla, Vintage Verb, UV Spark Verb, any of your favorite reverb. Now, the crazy thing I want you to notice is that when this cutoff opens up, it just lets the reverb just really shine. And the space that you have, because you only have this one sound, creates so much space. Now, from here, the last thing you're really going to need is just going to be a delay, a tasteful delay. And for this, I'm just going to use the Ableton one. We're going to put a bit of a ping pong one, set it how you want. And all we're going to do is automate our send. Now, the reason we're doing that is because if I were to put this delay on the channel and automate the dry and wet, I would essentially be lowering and increasing the delay volume. And I want that delay to bleed throughout it. I don't want it to go back down to 0 volume like that, or 0 negative 64 dB, whatever is silence. Okay, but we're going to do that and do it here. And you're going to see the change that it does. And it makes these transitions just sound a lot smoother than being so abrupt. Okay, so we're going to do that here. And let's hear. Okay, now with the delay, you really want to be tasteful with it. Again, like I said, if you want to delay maybe just the mids, then you can do that. Or the highs. Just keep in mind that however much you open that cutoff filter, you really want to target that frequency there. But you don't want it to be to the point where it's exactly the same, but just a bit where it's kind of like a crippled. I always say crippled, but that's such a bad word. More of a toned down version of it. Now, if you have a high feedback, that's going to make those stay a little bit longer, as the feedback's going to increase how many times it repeats, how many times the delay hits, okay? So keep that in mind, but in essence, that's going to be it, guys. Now, there are a couple of variations we can add as well. First off, another thing you can do is increase this fine a bit so you get more of a detuned version of this. Okay, you can increase the resonance a bit if you want. You can also automate it if you feel like that's what you want. The other thing we can also apply to this, guys, is we can make this +1/+1, which will give us a bit of a different vibe. The problem going this route is you're going to need a third layer, and thankfully Serum has a sub layer. And we can apply a triangle wave at 0. That way, when it plays, since now the triangle is giving us that low, and we can push this guy up even more to 2 octaves, to 1 and to 0. You have 3 layers, 1 at each octave, which is going to cover more frequency. It might sound a little bit more cheesier though, but if that's what you want, again, it's open for you to use. Okay, you kind of get the idea there, and it gives us different vibes. Now, the last thing I do have to say is that, again, guys, experiment with different stuff. You don't have to use saws. You could definitely try using maybe squares, seeing what that sounds like. But in essence, the key thing is just to get inspired from. See, that sounds a little bit different, but again, it's the same technique. It's just different tonalities because of the wavetables we pick. You know, play around with effects, but the most important thing to get here, guys, is that +7. the melodic changes that he does. You can do that in your own productions in a certain way where maybe you have a drum fill that happens and you can increase it, make it sound interesting with ping pong reverb coming in. A lot of cool things we can learn from this, guys. But I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. I hope this kind of brings some light into the sound of Bodzin. And I'll see you guys next time for another tutorial. You guys take care. And if you want to support the channel, guys, make sure to check out the Kraken. It's a techno Serum sound set I made with Julian Earl. Has samples, everything you need to make techno. Check it out. And if it's a good fit, you know, support the channel. Purchasing the pack, you support my channel and Julian Earl's channel so we can keep doing what we're doing. But with that being said, you guys take care and you guys have a good night.